guys, this is Cole with Regal Metalworks. Hey, we're just going to do a follow-up video here for Street Speed 717's rock climber, whatever thing you want to call it, off-road vehicle, Exoskeleton. We are done with it. There's two little things I want to do before we finish it, but we'll go over that. And I just want to do a review of what we did to update the last video that we did, because we didn't have it finished. We didn't have the doors in, we didn't have a seat, we didn't have the grill and everything else. So I want to go over that and give you guys a first glimpse before Mike gets it and probably destroys it. All right, let's take a look. All right, we finished this grill. This grill's kind of floating, it's hidden. Actually has two mounting points here and here on tabs, and we used the same screws that we did the grill with. So this grill is basically 2/8 inch sheets that we plasma cut out. The back one is transparent. In other words, it's completely cut out. As you can see, you kind of see there. And the front has this flag design that our intern Nate went ahead and drew up with a little bit of guidance from me to get the shape that we wanted. And we went ahead, we had some of this stainless steel mesh wire. So we sandwiched it in there. We powder coated it first because we didn't want it to rust. And knowing Mike, he said he was going to paint this, and if he sprayed this, the inside would rust and rust would be running out. But these are all stainless steel screws that we had, that we used for other projects, and we went ahead and did that. So it kind of ties the front end off nice. Looks pretty good, and it gives that image that he's always promoting. I did want to do a hood for this. I wanted to do an X member hood that was boltable and removable, but we ran out of budget and the material. I didn't have extra material here to really do it. I had enough for like one piece, but we were out and I didn't want to have to order more. It's possible in the future that could be added at any time. That's not a big deal. I would like to see it. It would close the front off, make it stronger, and also complete the look. So let's move on back here to show the interior of what we finished in the doors. So you can see we have welded in doors now. They're identical on both sides. We did install the second seat rail here, and you can see that had to channel out through the transmission tunnel. And we went ahead and we waited till we got the seat because I wanted to see how far we were going to have to really space it. That was pretty much where we were planning to put it, and that's where we put it, but better to be safe than sorry. Send It Steve brought us this Recaro seat he had. There's only one of them, but we made an identical mounting platform, and we'll go over and take a look at that so you can see what's actually under here. And then I went ahead and out of my own pocket added this race equipped 5-point harness. Because we did remove the seat belts, and with the whole Kevin Hart thing going on, didn't want to risk it, and that's cheap insurance. But we did weld in the doors then. They're not removable. I did cut one of these handbars. I just have it sitting up here on a magnet, but honestly I just don't think you'll use it, so I'm probably not going to weld it in. Well, let's go over and take a look at the other side. Here's the seat pan. This is a 3/16 steel. We cut it out with mounting spots for the rails for a seat in the future, identical to the Recaro. So if he does get the other Recaro, I think Steve said he had another seat. If he does get that, he'll be able to easily get it in through here. We didn't want to weld in these doors before we got the seat because we didn't know how much room we were going to have, but turns out we'd have plenty of room to get it in there. We did then add a cross member here going between the doors. Sorry about that. Cross member here between the doors to add rigidity to the actual frame from this side. This would also help keeping that if he was in any type of collision or anything that would push anything back, it would keep that whole steering column from coming back into him. Yeah, we did go ahead and add the US 717 logo back on there. If you remember, he had that painted on the side. We cut that out and saved that. We actually ended up getting the same stencil font and used the same one to cut that out. That's just 1/8" steel. They welded that in. That could easily be removed. I didn't want to bolt it in. We just welded it in. That could easily be removed if he would sell this vehicle or somebody else wanted it. We did, I think from the last time, I did change this up. This was originally hanging out here and down because it originally bolted to the fender here, fender well. And we went ahead and shortened this, flipped this up. So we didn't have to cut any of this, which was nice. We just only had to cut the hose. And then made a plate here and then welded that on. And that's always fun, welding around open fuel. Everything we did add these American flag inserts. These are bolted in so they can be removed as well, especially if they want to paint them a different color or powder coat. These are made out of, I think, 16 gauge aluminum. We just want something light, just to break up that whole big open area. I wanted something that just kind of looked neat on the back end. And it makes a nice noise when you're driving. It rattles, and that's to remind you that all America is behind you. We did then add more gusseting in. I don't believe any of the gussets were in the last video. These are all cut out and welded in to add support to these bars, so there's less likely that they'll bend in those points. We did add our logo, or one of our logos, into the cross member back there, those plates, so that came out really nice. We also did up here on these guys, and then of course we did add them up here in the front. There, and then up top we did one with the logo as well. That way if somebody sees this vehicle, they'll know who built it, or they won't know. Since it doesn't have Regal Metalworks labeled anywhere, we just have the RMW logo. So we didn't really have it in the budget to finish the interior, to do any of the paneling or anything. We just kind of tied all the wiring up. The gauge cluster is kind of sitting there. I don't know if he's going to want to run that. It's currently, it has power, but it doesn't want to work. So I don't know if when we remove the interior, we lost a ground or something. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense because it was working up to that point. But we didn't remove any of the cabling or cut any of the wires going to that. So who knows? We also up front here, when Mike brought this in, the anti-lock brake that has all your brake lines attached to it, to your master cylinder, was literally just hanging by the support of the brake lines. We did actually have to replace the brake line on the other side because that did break. We made a small little bracket just to kind of hold it and give it some clearance. This fuse panel box was laying on the side because everything used to be inside the fender well here. The ECM, we just kind of got it up as high as we could. We're kind of limited on where we could put it due to the wiring. So we went ahead and just kind of screwed it in with some sheet metal screws. So it's easy enough to take off and remove if need be. If he ever does change his power plant and goes with a different motor and goes with the aftermarket ECU, it'll be much easier for him to work with and plug in the new ECM. We also, when we finished the interior, we did a roll chassis on the interior. You can see it's all braced out. I don't think we had this in the last video, or we might have had part of it done. But everything is completely welded the whole way through. So he's got decent protection. There's only one thing we need to do that I'm going to do, basically pro bono, just for safety, is I'm going to make a plate cut out that basically covers the drive shaft. So if this would blow apart for any reason, or he gets into some deep mud, it's going to fling it everywhere. So I'm going to weld in a plate that goes over top of that so that you'll be able to actually stand on it. It makes a nice little standing platform, but you'll be able to also have some protection against that drive shaft. And then multiple of you have commented about boxing the frame, which would be ideal, but that's not really in the budget on this build. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and at least weld in pieces above the exoskeleton frame. I'm going to make sure I weld pieces in there so that doesn't collapse in. And here, same thing there. The back, I'm probably not going to do. I don't foresee that being an issue, and it would be a real pain to get to. But I do have a slight issue on this side because they run all the fuel and brake lines inside here, and that's actually where the fuel lines actually join the return and send. So I don't know what I'm going to do there. I might have to make something a little bit more open so you can still access those. So I won't do just like a straight piece. And it gets a little nerve-wracking when you're welding around fuel lines. See it, but we have plenty of little spiders. Focus on it. He's too little. Ta-da! Made a drive shaft. Made a drive shaft cover. You can also stand on it if you wanted to, say, mount a turret up there. It'd be pretty cool. But in the event that the drive shaft comes apart and shatters, it should protect you. It's got 3/16 steel. We did go ahead, I don't know if you can see this, right down ball and over on ball. We put in, we boxed in the frame just under the support in that vicinity. We did the same thing on this side as well, with the exception here, because the fuel lines actually have the connectors right there. That should help. I mean, it's not ideal. It would be better if we boxed in the whole frame, but that wasn't in the budget. So we just did this pro bono. We did that and we did this just to, you know, kind of complete it. And then one other thing, or two other things I should say, is I just couldn't help myself. It was just bothering the crap out of me. So I added a hood. What do you guys think of that? I think it's pretty cool. It is removable. I made it boltable here. I made these tabs, welded them on, and then on this DOM, I made a 1/2-inch solid insert that goes in there, and then I threaded it, drilled and threaded it so that a 3/8 16 bolt can go in there. I did that on all four up there so that you can remove this, and I have removed it. It does work. I did so to weld the bottom side of this actually. When I had it all bolted up, I welded it and welded these in on the top side, welded this, and then I took it off, and on the bench I welded the bottom side and then cleaned up a little bit underneath there. Just because I was afraid if I would weld that on the bench with it not bolted in, then the material would warp and then you would never be able to get the holes to line back up. And it was still a chore even at that. You still got to flex them a little bit, but there's enough play that you can. But she's pretty solid. I'm really happy with that. Before the gussets were welded in, it flexed a little bit. Now with the gussets in, it just seems a lot more solid. So I have no doubt that if this would roll over, this is going to be your weak point here, and it's welded on both sides the whole ways around, and it's 3/16 steel. I think you'll be all right. It will definitely protect the motor from flailing around, the ECU from getting crushed, since we kind of mounted it high there. But I think we'll be good. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. So I decided to go ahead and make a center console here, and we put the 4-wheel drive control system in this plate. It was too short to go to reach there, so when I had to lengthen it, there was like 9 wires. I needed to lengthen it about 18 inches. We also put the headlight switch in here, which you can see when you turn it on. It's pretty bright. And there's enough room left here that if he in the future would want to put anything else in there, gauges or whatnot, could easily do so. I currently just have it sitting here. I plan to put 2 strips of Velcro on both sides probably tomorrow, and that will basically wrap it up, besides taping down some of the power cable. I got some good gaffer tape, and taping that down just so it's not flailing around or somebody get their foot caught up in it. But that's where we're at. We're pretty much done. The gauge cluster I'm just going to zip tie in. That actually isn't currently not working. It's got power to it, but for some reason nothing's registering. All the lights come on, but none of your gauges actually read anything. I don't know why. I know we removed a bit of the wiring harness over here, but that was all for the HVAC, I should say. So I'm not sure what the issue is there. The fuses are good. Like I said, we have power. We have plenty of room. As you can see here, there's plenty of room out here. It's kind of hard to tell, but if you can see the edge of the seat, you got a good, now I have a wide angle lens on, you have a good almost 12 inches there, and you could actually do a whole nother console there. Now, of course, the door would normally come down to that seam there, the middle of that seam, and we're out another 6 inches from there, so you got a good, hey poppers, you got a good, I'd say that's about 7, 8, or 8 inches. You ready to go home, buddy? Yeah, I know you are. Totally ready to go home. So am I. It's beer 30. So this guy will be done tomorrow. I just want to tape some stuff off, put the Velcro on this, zip tie that down. I finished the hood today. You can see it's bolted in from here. So you guys can kind of see what it would look like if you were sitting in the driver's seat here. We'll zoom out. You got pretty good clearance. The hood just adds a little bit, but I think it looks so much nicer. It was really bothering me that you could, it was just open. And I've been thinking about it for a while, what would the best way to do. I was thinking about, 20 different things to do, and I just wasn't happy with any of them. And coming up with this was quick and dirty, and I didn't have to do a bunch of coping. And again, that was pro bono, along with this cover, and the boxing the rails back there. We just did that just because we're nice guys, and we didn't want to give a vehicle that just didn't look like it was going to be finished, or that it was finished. And a few 100,000 people will probably see this vehicle, and I don't want people going, "Why didn't they finish the layout?" And so there you go, guys. It's done, and Mike will be taking it back shortly. Hopefully, I got to call him and let him know it's done. Yeah, I just have to think. Sometimes you just have to stop and you have to think about things and what's the best way to really do this. I want to get it finished, and I want it to look right, and I want to be happy with it, and I don't want the whole internet world blowing up the comments saying, "Why did you do this?" or "Why didn't you do that?" And they probably still will do that, but at least I can say, hey, it's finished, and nobody was here really to give me a hand on it besides my intern. So if you have questions as why something wasn't done, well, you weren't here. So I had to make do with what I had, and that's that. So, alrighty guys, until the next big project, we'll see you then. Peace out.
So bring your A game, cause this party won't stop. We could never run out of time, sipping strawberry lime. I wanna share it with you. This is going